Good morning. It's Friday, and you have found Jill and Deb in the Friday Grief Chat, and we've got stuff to talk about.
We do. Hi, I'm Deb, and it has been a very interesting week. Uh, Last you heard from us, dun dun dun. Uh, Last you heard from us, I was talking about the box. I don't have the box here, I did put it away. But the box that represented our hearts at camp and how I was going to use it somehow for my friend's funeral. So everything sort of came together by Monday. I realized, and I had collected everything to put into the service. So I was going to be part of two services. The first service, of course, was at the funeral home after the visitation. And then it was the next day we would be at the cemetery. And so it was over 2 days. So the first, so I brought the box in toward the end of the visitation part. And my girlfriend that I was riding with, she said to me on the way home, no, she said while we were there, she looked at the long line and she said, "You see this? This is how friends talk now. If I die before you do," all my friends say this, "if I die before you do, I do not want this line. I didn't grow up with this line. You just went up to the casket. And I grew up Jewish. You didn't even have an open casket."
Right.
So, anyway, let me say this was probably one of the hardest for me to wrap my head around writing a service. And I've written a lot of
A lot. Yes,
services.
you have.
This just sucked. And so that's the best way to say it. So I brought the box and I had filled it with beads. And I was all out of the little prism color uh, heart stickers, but I had some unicorn stickers and there were some hearts on the package. And I had only done this at one other funeral where I spoke. And so to write and organize the service, there's two parts. I collect what other people have said because not everybody wants to get up and speak. And I needed to add my words and add a prayer in there. And so um, there were about 8 of us from camp that showed up from different
Wow.
parts of the state. Yeah, that was something. And and when I saw the flowers, there were 3 or 4 people from camp that sent flowers on top, and that's pretty good. I mean, there's
Yeah.
usually about, and some of them were campers that have grown up in
In
camp.
camp. Hmm.
So to write, let me just go back to Monday night. It is now 10 o'clock at night, and I don't have it all together. So what I did is Daryl went to bed, and I had time by myself to just talk to Shar, the deceased. And that's what I needed to do inside my heart.
Hmm.
So when it came time at the funeral, because I had such a yucky funeral experience when my dad died, and that
Right.
was my first funeral, hey, it's driven me, what, 54 years now. And I don't want anybody ever to have that experience. So in order to get people comfortable with life, I also want them comfortable with death and to be able to talk about it. And so, what is life made up? Laughter and tears, right? And
Mm-hmm.
everything in between. And so, there's usually a few ways I get people laughing. And then they are able to relax a little and cry a little, relax a little and cry a little. And that's what the service was. And then at the end, I had already cleared this with her wife, BJ, and I, the very last thing, I talked about the box, and then I closed the box, but never lock it because you never want to lock your heart. It
Mm-hmm.
happens, but the goal is to unlock or not keep it locked. That's the outcome. When horrible things happen, you it's important that the box open and close freely, and that's the metaphor for that. And then when everybody pretty much cleared out after I closed the box and we decided, on dinner and stuff like that, I went over to the casket and I put Char's last clown kiss right here and some beads right next to her. She loved purple, and I can do imitations of people pretty well. And I imitated her at every camp. Daisy, where's where's my clown kiss? I didn't get one, right? Because I'm busy doing all the campers and all those things. And then I want purple beads. The adults are like, I want purple, I want white, I want gold, I want green. And I'm like, you know. And so I gave her the purple beads, and I felt good as her friend and for BJ to send Char off. And then there is a poem I highly recommend. I use it for every graveside funeral
Mm-hmm.
that I do, graveside service. And at the graveside, her nephew spoke as well as I did. He did more of the Christian part, and I did more all encompassing. And the name of the poem that I really love to read is by James Delit Freeman. Um, he wrote a poem called I Am There. And that poem in 1971 went to the moon. It's in a little capsule, and it's on microfiche. Of course, 50 years from now, when they dig it up, they're going to go, what archaeological thing is this? What is this roll of film? Right? This teeny
Yeah.
roll of film, right? And so, anyway, that's what I sent her off with. I am there, and it's a beautiful poem, and it's special to me in many ways. I sent money when my mom died. Made a donation and it was unsolicited, to James Dillard Freeman, and he sent me back a signed copy of I
Oh
Am
my
There.
goodness.
So yeah, yeah, which I still need to put in a frame.
Yes, you do.
I do. And so, anywho, that was it, and it was another really beautiful thing happened. Was my another friend of ours, H. She's Jewish, and the way Jewish people bury the dead is usually someone brings shovels, or you bring your own shovel, and you shovel the dirt onto the casket when it's
Right.
lowered. And they did not want to lower the casket and bury them with a bunch of people there. And so my friend H went around to the back where there's the dirt.
Are you there? You're frozen. You're frozen.
Oh, there we are. Are
There
you
you
okay?
are. Yeah, you were
Okay.
frozen.
Yeah, I was frozen for a minute. And so H put the dirt on there, and BJ, the wife, saw and said to the funeral director, "Don't touch it." And that way H got to bury her friend also. And did you catch all that about putting dirt on the casket?
I got part of it.
Yeah. In a Jewish tradition, we bury our our dead. We put as the caskets down in the ground. But BJ did not want to lower the casket. There was it's just what she wanted, but she allowed H to put that little bit of dirt on the top of the casket. So it was something.
Yeah.
And you know it was unexpected. It was an unexpected young person's death, and that was hard. So her niece, well, her great niece, I could just tell by her personality. And I said, because some of the words I used to describe our friend or her great aunt was quirky and sassy. And you know what? This little girl, she just looked at me like Charwood.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had that quirky and sassy spunk about her. And I said to the parents, she's very much like her Auntie Char. I don't think the dad appreciated that, but the mom definitely did. So, anyway, yeah, that
I'm
was,
so glad you were able to tuck her in a way that honored her and everyone else who knew her, and also her surviving widow, so that she could
right.
have some privacy in that final, very intimate moment.
Yeah. And I'll, as soon as I get her address, I need a book from you.
If you send
So
me the address, I'll send it off.
I really would like that.
Yeah.
And yeah. We talked about you just a little bit, and I said, and because everybody knows you're my partner in crime on Fridays.
Likewise.
I know it. I know it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my week. And once I got in the car with my buddy Carol, and we started driving home after the the graveside, I could just feel how tired I was getting. It was just all draining. And I'm like, okay, today is a day of comfort food. And I had Culver's cheese curds.
Oh, I was gonna say mac cheese. All right, good enough.
No, cheese curds, melted, yum. And they have
Nice.
a coating on them. So I was going to pay for everything later, but I really needed that.
Yeah,
And
the
then
crunch. Hmm.
I needed just a little the salty and the crunch. And then later on I had some ice milk from Dairy Queen, because it's not
Nice.
custard, it's whatever. But yep, sometimes
You
you
need
need
comfort food.
I needed just comfort food. And
Hmm.
now I'm back to regular.
Yeah, I
So,
think all that whole thing about fancy sandwiches at funerals, it should be all the stuff that you can curl up around and brings back the memories and allows you to connect, and hopefully it doesn't poison anyone because you can have a
yeah,
selection. But
yeah, yeah.
there should be comfort food.
At your funerals, when people brought stuff, what did you have?
Oh my goodness! For Linda, we had two. We had one at the church because I knew there were people I did not want coming to the house. So we put on kind of a front at the church. Um, and so we had her favorite sandwiches from her favorite sub place. And we had her favorite macaroni salad. And we had chocolate. And then at the house, I had a caterer come and we had a Hawaiian luau. And it
Oh,
was finger foods and pineapple because we were supposed to go to Hawaii together. She had served in Hawaii. We didn't get her to Hawaii because she got sick. So we had the luau she always wanted. And so it was all of the Hawaiian comfort food that you could possibly have and ribs and things. For Casper, we had at the church, we did everything at the church because I wanted to go home and not have people there. Um, and so we had a chocolate bar, and we had her favorite cupcakes, and we had some ribs, and we had mac cheese. We had Southern comfort food,
wow.
that kind of stuff, because you should have the things that connect to the person. And
Yeah.
nobody's going to say no to ribs, mac cheese, and a cupcake, much less. And we had an entire table of chocolate, different kinds of chocolate, because as she was a chocolate fanatic anyway. Oh, and we had yoo-hoos because that was
Oh,
one of
yeah,
her.
yeah. The
Yeah,
chocolate drink.
she and Linda used to drink yoo-hoos together, so we
Oh,
had yoo-hoos. And with dementia you end up eating all the sweet stuff, and we had literally an entire drawer in the bedroom that was filled with nothing but chocolate. And she liked those pastries you get at the gas station, the little Debbie's and
oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
and
Ding
those. So
dong
we
go
had a
go.
selection of those, right? We had all the things, and that's what you should have.
You know, interesting. I'll just tell you, Daryl and I went out for dinner, right? Because it's really the first time he and I had been together out because we had COVID right before that, right?
Right.
And we just didn't go out. We were too tired. What did I want? Ribs. And I had broccoli. I figured I need one little healthy thing for
You
the
should always
day.
have broccoli on top of the ice cream, if nothing
Oh,
else.
well, so
You gotta earn
I
the ice
needed,
cream.
I had in the ice cream, I wanted so so they make, what are they called where they turn them up? Blizzards, and they're
Yeah.
supposed to not come out, but look at, I wanted two liquids put in there. I wanted hot fudge in my ice cream, and I wanted caramel and tons of whipped cream. So basically, I had chocolate and ribs and everything you've talked about. So,
Excellent.
but I'll tell you, at our um, growing up, well, really, it was my dad was the first one I got to go to. But our family, our Jewish family, when there was yeah, foods, there's a whole ritual, and maybe I talked about this before. I'll briefly go through it. You sit what's called Shiva, and
Sitting
that's
Shiva, which is a wonderful way to connect and to grieve.
for, you get 8 days and 8 nights,
Hmm.
and you get a candle that burns for that long, 24 hours and longer. And so when you come, because you help bury the dead with shovels or whatever, um, outside the door is usually a prayer pamphlet
Hmm.
and for, depending on the household, maybe a box full of yarmulkes
Right.
that the men can use to cover their head. There is a pitcher and with water in it, another bowl, and there's
Wash
paper
your hands.
towel. So
Mm-hmm.
because you wash your hands before you come into the
Mm-hmm.
the house where the bereaved are sitting shiva, and people bring food. Here are the foods that I remember. One, there's kugel, kugel, and kugel. Kugel means pudding, and they're usually Jewish flat noodles. Oh, they have a great uh,
The egg noodles.
gluten free. Yeah, they have them gluten free now. In soups, the best. And Manischewitz. And then they have, so a kugel is like a sweetened pudding. But it's not pudding. It's made of noodles, cottage cheese, cinnamon. My mother hated raisins, but some people put
They
sugar,
should be
cinnamon.
illegal. They're humiliated grapes.
Well, I like them. And so, but they would put the golden kind in there, and that made them more special, I guess. So they had those. So lots of different types of kugels. Some were savory, some were sweet. Then always deviled eggs, always, and hard boiled eggs, always. And then there's your delicatessen. So lots of places didn't have ham, but they did have roast beef. They had turkey, sliced turkey or sliced chicken. Then they had pastrami and corned beef or whatever, lots of beef type stuff. But for those that didn't want to eat that, there was cream cheese, lots of different cream cheese and lox and tomatoes and onions and lettuce. And then there was chopped liver. And then you had that spread of chopped liver. And then for desserts, once again, the kugels and the cookies, spritz cookies, and chocolate. And I don't remember anything else. Oh, cakes, lots of one layer cakes, chocolate cake, vanilla cake. They didn't make cupcakes back then. And don't forget the rye bread and the mustards and they didn't put mayo out that often. So, because it was a crime on challah bread to put mayo in any kind of meat. It was a crime, crimes against Jewish humanity. Never, ever do that. So,
I love going to a Jewish deli and asking for a pastrami on sourdough with mayo.
yeah, Jill, that's the only mark I have against you. Yes. No,
No,
no.
I mean I like rye. I like the rye hardtack. I'll
Yes,
do that.
yes.
Yeah, but not rye bread. It's not a thing.
Yeah, well, I can't do that anymore, but
Or maybe Dijon mustard. I could do that.
Mm, mustard. Mustard's got to be
Mhm.
with the pastrami or corned beef. You could have horseradish, but
That
not,
too. Hmm.
and pickles.
Steve
So,
says you're a very forgiving people, and I'm allowed.
ah, yes, you're allowed.
Yeah.
Oh, be still my heart. Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, yeah, that was what we had, and I think the the best thing I ever had when my mom died, her broker or money manager or whatever sent this huge box of nibbles. And for a long, long time, I would go to one place and just to whoever died, I'd send a box of nibbles. Nibbles are chocolate covered pretzels, chocolate, different types of little bags of chips, some tea, some coffee. That's what I sent.
When my mom died, my girlfriends mobilize.
Yes.
And the first girlfriend who mobilized was Lori, who lives closest. Um, And she and her family showed up early in the morning with hot coffee in a box and trays of fresh fruit because her family are an old Japanese farming family
Mm,
from our
mm.
area, and they had every kind of fruit you could imagine. And they were careful not to have dairy touching anything else because they knew my sister was around. And it was just so nice to have just a ton of fresh fruit to just go and grab. It was huge. It covered the whole table
Yeah.
and it was gone by
Mm-hmm.
end of day, wiped clean because everybody was so tired of fast food from
Yes.
the dying time that the fresh
Yes.
fruit was just a welcome gift.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Right.
But when we went to sit Shiva for Mona's dad, yeah, it was Kugel, 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 more Kugel, a little more Kugel, maybe some Kugel. How about some noodles? Right. And her mom was Italian, was Italian Roman Catholic. So there was a little bit of pasta in there too.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. Hmm.
You know, H, who I was talking about, her mom died about 3 months ago, maybe.
Hmm.
And I talk to her often. So there was, I think she's just gotten rid of the last of the kugels that were at her house.
Shouldn't you keep one in the freezer for a year like you do for weddings?
Have you ever really tasted that wedding cake a year later?
Yeah, no, we never made it last that long. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I did. It
No,
was really god awful. You just take a bite, and you go, "Bleh."
we never had a normal wedding cake at any of my weddings. Closest we got was cupcakes with gold and silver.
Oh,
Right? They
I
were
got
pretty.
talking about food and wedding cakes at my first wedding to Howard. Um, that was my favorite part of the wedding was the cake. I actually got to pick out the flavors, and that was delicious. And then, like bar mitzvahs and stuff in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, they made these little petit fours, but they were looked like a frog or a little bumblebee, or they were
Oh,
just in cupcake papers, but they weren't cupcakes, but they were frosted a certain way.
but not with marzipan or anything like that.
No, 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 no. And then with Daryl and I had I made the cake topper, and one of my coworkers made the cake. Chocolate cake, white icing on the outside, and on the top was a fake nose and glasses with a picture of Daryl and I.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah, I'll have to take a picture and send you.
Linda and I had just cake from the grocery store because that was so long ago nobody would make wedding cakes for lesbian couples.
Oh, that's
And
right.
then Casper and I really like Costco cakes, and so did the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what made sense. I just got some pretty cupcakes to go with that because
Mm-hmm.
you should have at least something sparkly. But we also had cupcakes in Starbucks cups because that's where we used to go and hide from people who were prying eyes. So we had
Oh,
coffee at Starbucks in the morning when nobody was looking.
oh,
Yeah. Hmm.
wow. Yes.
Gotta be able to do it your way, right?
Right. Exactly.
We will talk about matzo ball soup another time because I know it's a comfort food and it has been made for me many times as comfort food. But most of the time at my house, if you show up with matzo ball soup, that means someone's going to die that day. So we'll talk about that because it's an omen at our house. Yeah.
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh.
But I love matzo ball soup anyway. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
they
like
make
relief food.
gluten free matzo meal. Yes.
Steve makes a mean one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, we're going to have a quieter weekend. I'm going to send all the love in the world out to the people of Bermuda who were so welcoming to us while we were there just last month.
Mhm.
They are facing a
Mhm.
Cat 2 hurricane as a direct hit tomorrow.
Yes.
And having been through a Cat 2, I can't
Mm,
imagine doing that on an island, that many miles away from everyone else. I can't
mm,
even imagine it.
mm.
So, and to all of those who are spending too much time watching politics, turn it off. It's toxic. Just turn it off. You know what you're going to do. Turn it off.
Yeah,
Um, mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
we don't need that kind of toxicity in our lives.
You can sign up for early voting,
Hmm.
and you can also sign up for, you don't even have to go to the ballot. You can get a, what do they call it? Oh my gosh, my brain just,
Absentee.
absentee. Thank you.
You can, and
They,
you also need to, if you live in pretty much any state now, you need to check and make sure your voter registration is active and accurate,
that's
because
right.
there are folks who are ticking people off the rolls in droves. And we want everyone who watches to be able to have their voice, whatever it may be. We are not
Hmm.
advocating a position, although you can guess ours. Um, we want you to have your rights and your ability to represent
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. It never, voting is your way of not feeling hopeless or helpless.
Right.
Your vote matters. I don't care
Mhm.
how many times they recount or do or whatever or challenge it. Your vote matters.
You are there, your feet were there, you said what you needed to say. And that way, if no matter how it goes, you will know that you were a participant, and you had a say so in the process. And that is one way to combat grief and loss, is to have a say so.
Is to have your say. And
Mhm.
I always encourage, write what's in your heart. And even if you don't have many words, write. I don't have
Mhm.
many words. I mean, I'm I have words when I do a service, but I'll tell you, when I write those personal notes, I usually write, I don't know what to say. I might quote something, but
I will frequently say, I have no words that can provide comfort. I'm
right.
sending you a hug.
Yeah,
And I really mean that. There, you, my arms are around you, my thoughts are with you, my heart is aching for you. I can't fix it, right?
no, I
Yeah.
cannot.
And that is the rest of my day. I've got lots of things I can't fix, but I got people who need to have their words to say. So
Yes,
it's off to do that. Deb, love you.
I love
Do
you.
mean it. I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Bye bye.